So, welcome to the first overtime session with Cold Therapy. This overtime session is brought to you by James Clyde Jr. over at Clyde Talk. So, y'all make sure y'all go follow him on all social media platforms at Clyde Talk and follow his YouTube channel as well. Make sure you listen to his podcast on whatever podcasting platform you're listening to it on, at Clyde Talk Podcast or the Clyde Talk Podcast. I'm sorry. And so, so it's important as we kick off this overtime session. It's important to have some good people around you. It's important to have some people that understand who you are, the calling and the anointing that's on your life, right? Because as I shared with Clyde last week, what the topic of this episode was supposed to be about or going to be about, he says, I thought about another example for you. And I also had one more example that I didn't share on the podcast that was supposed to be in the podcast. So the overtime session, y'all getting both of these, right? So we'll start with Clyde's example. So if you look at John 20, verse 15, this is when Mary is at the tomb. And let's go ahead and start. Let's go back. So John 20, let's start at verse 11, not verse 15. So it says, "But Mary stood outside by the tomb weeping. And as she wept, she stood down and looked into the tomb. And she saw two angels in white sitting, one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Jesus had lain. Then they said to her, 'Woman, why are you weeping?' She said to them, 'Because they had taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid them.' Now when she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, and did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, 'Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?' She, supposing him to be the gardener, said to him, 'Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away.' Jesus said to her, 'Mary.' She turned and said to him, 'Rabboni,' which is to say, teacher. Jesus said to her, 'Do not cling to me, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God.' Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord, and that he had spoken these things to her." And so what Clyde was pointing out here is that even in the example of Mary, she gets to the tomb. She's seeking Jesus, right? To go to the tomb to honor him. And what does she see? She sees Jesus. And Jesus asks her, "Why are you weeping?" Why are you weeping? Right? And then he says, "Do not cling to me, for I'm not yet ascended, but go to my brethren and say to them, I am ascending." Right? And this would be important for when she would go back, and then he would commission the disciples as apostles and tell them to then go ye therefore. And so it directly aligns with the subject matter for this previous episode of stop mourning, start moving. Jesus was showing Mary that, look, the job is not finished. I'm still working. I'm still moving, right? You might have thought I had died, right? But I am here. I have risen. Now go and spread the gospel. Go and spread the good news. Stop weeping. Stop mourning what you thought was an ill. Stop mourning what you thought was a loss. Stop mourning what you thought was my death and my end, because I'm just getting started. The resurrection is here, right? And there's more work for us to do. And the example that I was going to give in the episode that I didn't is actually Joshua chapter 1. It begins, "After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spoke to Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' assistant, saying, 'Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore, arise, go over this Jordan, you and all this people, to the land which I am giving to them, the children of Israel.'" Right? And what I want to show you is that immediately after that, God continues to speak to Joshua, and he says in verse 10, it says, "Then Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, pass through the camp and command the people, saying, prepare provisions for yourselves, for within 3 days you will cross over this Jordan to go in to possess the land which the Lord your God is giving you to possess." Right? So Joshua immediately takes the instruction. He heeds the instructions of God and goes. God speaks to him and says, "Moses, my servant, is dead. So don't weep. Don't stay here and sulk and complain and stay in this place of mourning that Moses has departed. Moses has gone. Moses is dead now. But I'm calling you. I'm calling you into action. Go and tell my people, right? Go over this Jordan, you and all this people." And that's when he tells him to be strong and of good courage, right? So in this season of your life, maybe you've been in a mourning position. Maybe you've been weeping some things. Maybe you've been mourning some losses. But I want to encourage you today that it's time to get moving. It's time to go. Stop mourning and start moving. This overtime session is just to give you 2 more examples of why it's important to continue moving forward, right? Don't stay in this stuck place. Don't stay in this this rhythm or this place of mourning, this place of loss, this place of I don't know what's next. I don't know what to do. It didn't happen the way that I thought it was going to happen, and now I'm sad. Now I'm complaining, right? There's more work for us to do, each and every one of us. Like I said, there's many things that I've mourned and have gone through, and I've almost stayed in a place of mourning for so long, but now it's like, no, there's work to do. And so now that's why you see a YouTube channel. That's why you continue to hear a podcast, because there's more work to do. I'm not going to the grave empty, right? And I want that to be your testimony. I'm not going to go to the grave empty. I'm not going to allow people's opinions of me. I'm not going to allow those things to shape and mold who I am, because God is calling us to greater. God is calling us to something that is bigger than ourselves. And if we allow the enemy, and shameless plug, if you haven't watched the drifting Zoom call, go back and watch that, because it's important to understand that subtly we can drift away from God's original intent because of life circumstances, because of different people in our ears, right? And due to those things, due to that negative talk, due to the negative influences, we lose sight of where God is calling us, and we subtly drift away from his original plan, his original intent. But I want to encourage you today to stop mourning and start moving. There's greater on the other side. There's more on the other side. We have work to do, y'all. Step into who God is calling you to be. Step into your rightful place as heirs and joint heirs with Christ, children of the living God. So I hope that this episode, this overtime session, something new, something totally out my comfort zone, but let's get it, y'all. I appreciate y'all for tapping into this overtime session. And yeah, we'll see how this goes, right? We'll see how camera, lighting, and all that kind of stuff works out. But I appreciate everyone that tunes in. I hope this overtime session blessed you, right? The scriptures were John 20 and then Joshua 1 for this overtime session. So I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the overtime session. And like I said, I can't promise every episode will have an overtime session, but I just wanted to give y'all something extra for the YouTube. And so make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. I got to get used to saying that, y'all. I'm new to this, right? So that's going to do it for this Cold Therapy overtime session. Until next time, I'm your host, Che Cole. Peace.